Hey friends, it's Natalie here, and I cannot wait for you to hear the podcast today because it is so inspiring. I'm joined by Tiffany Owen, a certified behavior change specialist with over 2 decades of experience helping women rise to their power, both physically and mentally. Tiffany is also the founder of the Beauty Beyond the Breakdown program, where she inspires women to break free from old patterns and lead lives filled with purpose and passion. In this episode, Tiffany shares her raw and very powerful story from battling addiction and surviving deep trauma to becoming a thriving, joyful mother, grandmother, and mentor to thousands of people. We're going to talk openly about what it takes to move beyond a victim mindset, stop self-sabotage in its tracks, and create small but transformational daily habits that really stick. She's going to break down some practical tools like power promises, morning routines, mindset shifts. And these are things that have helped her and many other women create lasting change. Whether maybe you're navigating a hardship or you just want to level up your energy and your joy, Tiffany's wisdom will meet you right where you are today. Make sure you hit subscribe so you will never miss an episode here of this podcast. And if you want even more health and wellness inspiration, head to my website. It's natalietysdal.com. That's NATALIE TYSDAL.com. And you can sign up for my newsletter. You'll also get some behind the scenes updates, free resources, and tools to help you thrive. And by the way, you can get my free gut reset plan if you're looking to get your gut back on track, or maybe lately you're just feeling bloated or experiencing some brain fog, or you just need a health reset. I recommend the gut reset plan. And you can find that at natalietysdal.com/gut reset. It's completely free. All right, let's get on with it today. This powerful conversation on transformation and breaking free from old patterns with the very inspiring Tiffany Owen. Tiffany, thank you so much for being on the podcast.
Thank you for having me. I'm so excited to finally meet you. I have been listening to your stuff ever since we booked this interview. And that's been a while because we've had to reschedule a few times.
Yes, we've gone back and forth, but good things are worth waiting for. So thank you. I want to talk to you about many things, your history, your background, how you help women. But let's start today with transformation. You have had a lot of transformation in your life. I think for a lot of women who are listening, they want something different than what they have and they don't know how to get it. It doesn't have to be an overhaul of your whole life, but sometimes we need that transformation.
That's a very loaded, let's jump right into it.
Let's get right into it. I don't waste time.
What do I want to share first? But first, before we dive into that, I do want to remind your listeners, I like to really share the importance of your listeners reviewing your podcast, giving it a 5-star review, sharing it. This is a mission and it is very, very hard. And I don't think people realize how much work you put into this. And to get the mission out and help more people, we need to review the podcast, give it a 5-star review and share it and subscribe. Share this episode with someone that you love. This may not be what you need to hear, but it could be for someone else. And so I want to just remind people to do that.
I appreciate that.
Yeah.
Thank you.
So what qualifies me to be speaking on this? The woman that you're looking at or listening to right now is not the same woman I was 3 years ago. I like to share vulnerably because I'm on a mission to empower women to be radically transformed into the person God created them to be. And I want you to know, if you're listening, that you can overcome anything and be the woman that God created you to be. I'm a Christian, so it's very important to me. And I was hopeless 3 years ago. I'd hit my final rock bottom. And because I think a lot of times we have several rock bottoms, but this was absolutely my final. I tried to kill myself for the 4th time in my life. And I'm a mother of 4. I'm a new grandmother. I have been in the fitness and health industry for 23 years. And the more people I helped and the more successful I became, I started neglecting my own self-care, not realizing it. And I turned to alcohol. I was drinking a lot. I've had an a problem with mental health and addiction my entire life, but it really ramped up when I was looking for a place to fill the void from being so exhausted of pouring into other women, which was my passion. And it just happened before I realized it. And I would go to bed most nights of the week and ask God to please just let me go to sleep and not wake up, because I was at a loss of what I needed to do to stop feeling this way, because I had the nutrition down. I've never missed a workout. I was like a poster girl for a woman in her 40s that was thriving with health and fitness. And so you probably couldn't tell how much I was struggling mentally and on the inside. And if you're listening and you're going through this vicious cycle of just constantly self-sabotaging and you don't know why, I hope what I share today will resonate with you and give you some tools to overcome that. Because what I am doing is working not only with me, but also thousands of other women that I've been able to help all over the United States, Canada, and the UK.
Well, thank you for sharing that. And I, in knowing a little bit more about your story, which might come out here as we talk and get advice from you, were you able to, in your successful career in helping other women, were you able to hide those things that were difficult? Did other people see it outside of your immediate family?
I share very openly about my trauma, and I've been through just about everything that you can possibly imagine. So to give you a little backstory on that, I've been through lots of PTSD, abuse, sexual abuse, rape, unwanted abortion, addiction, mental health problems, a lot of stuff. I found out my dad wasn't my real dad when I was 29. I was conceived by an anonymous sperm donor from a sperm bank. I have like 23 half siblings that I matched with on 23andMe and Ancestry. And that was devastating to me, because I also had a half brother that raped me when I was 23. And I shared this in a counseling session that my dad's brother was in. And that's when I found out. He said, well, your dad wasn't your real dad. So I'm trying to rehabilitate and get help. And this things just keep coming at me. And I was very open with all of my, because I love that I have a gift of empathy and I'm not ashamed. And so I shared most of my trauma, but I think the one thing that I was really hiding well was my drinking, to be honest. I don't think people realized how bad my drinking problem had gotten, because I was very high functioning. I had a very successful 6-figure business, coaching, helping, but I drank most nights of the week and I drank a lot. But I was functioning at a very high level. So that part, I think I hid.
What stopped it?
Yeah, I believe God kept whispering to me that I needed to stop. And because I really hadn't had many really bad consequences other than my own mental health and depression, I just wasn't ready yet. And you may be listening and maybe you don't have a drinking problem, but addiction is addiction. And we turn to things to change the way we feel and numb what we're not wanting to deal with. And that could be shopping, TV, relationships, food. I deal with so many food addicts. And for me, it was drinking, and I knew I needed to stop. And thank God he got my attention by the last suicide attempt. I had a falling out with my husband. I have 4 children, and my middle son wasn't talking to me. And so it just all kind of spiraled and came to a head. And I stood in my kitchen and I held that bottle of pills, and I took almost the whole bottle. And in that moment, again, I just was too tired to keep fighting the demons in my head. And my husband made me go to the hospital, and he would not let me come home. He made me go to treatment. He said, Tiffany, you can go to treatment or you will lose everything. And that's the first time my husband has ever given me an ultimatum. Keep in mind, my husband now, we've been married almost 15 years. He was my 4th husband by the time I was 29. I was marrying abusive men after abusive men, and I kept picking the same man. Finally met my godly mate. We've been married, almost 15 years. And I think I felt safe. And that's when my drinking really amped up. And I don't think I've shared this on a podcast. I felt safe enough to just let myself go because I wasn't scared of being abused. And that's when it just really got out of control, because I wasn't scared to drink. And he didn't really He wasn't mean to me. We had fun together. And you asked what finally stopped it. That was it. I knew I got to get it together. This was my wake up call. And when my back's against the wall and I'm given an ultimatum, luckily, I almost always make the right choice. And I did. And I got to go to treatment. I got to go to a trauma treatment center, and not everyone is so lucky to do that. And that is where I developed these tools that I use now in my coaching to help other women overcome self sabotage and a victim mindset. These actual tools that connected my head and my heart and got me to where I am today. And so I'm so grateful for that.
Okay, so let's go back. Thank you for all of that. God puts us through things we could never imagine. And it's always so inspiring to me to hear the multitude of stories and how God uses those things if we let him, right? If we let him use those stories to help other people and to be stronger. But let's go back to the transformation. Radical transformation. For you, it's been radical. For some people, it might not be radical, but they still need something. How, in your coaching business, working with women, what are some of those tools that you use? What advice can you give women?
The very first piece of advice, if you're listening, I really want you to lean into this. Be open to everything and attached to nothing, and give yourself permission to think differently. We fall into a trap of programs. Our mind and body are on autopilot, and those are habits. And a lot of times they're self-sabotaging habits. We just get into this program. So I'm really big on helping my clients rewire their brain. So we have to create new habits. So you have to replace a habit with a habit. To do that, it's important to give yourself permission to think differently. You can pick up your old habits, your old mindsets anytime, but just taking that moment to give yourself permission to think different opens the door to being coachable and open to change. And when you change the way you look at things, the things you look at change. So that openness is the first step, because if you're not open, then you're closed off to new suggestions that have the potential to change your life and get you to where you want to be.
Yeah. Yeah. Give me an example of that.
For me personally, when I went into treatment, and maybe you don't have addiction or big trauma, but we've all gone through something where there comes a time that there's a turning point that we need to be open to change. On the way to treatment, that's when my husband told me, he's like, Tiffany, I want you to just really be open to what you're about to go through. Even if that you feel triggered to not agree with the counselor or whoever's helping you, just be open to it. And when I went into these group therapy sessions and listened to whoever was helping me, I took into consideration every piece of advice. I don't like to journal. I would label myself as, I don't want to journal. And I've had tens of thousands of dollars of therapy. And that's like the number one thing a therapist will tell you to do is journal. Okay.
Yeah.
So I was closed off to that. Not going to do it. But anytime my counselor gave me an assignment, I was like, okay, what I'm doing is not working. So I am going to be open to doing this. And normally what we need the most, we resist the most. And so I reminded myself that too.
So true.
Yeah. What we need the most, we resist the most. And most of the time that's ego, which here's another great little saying. Ego is edging God out. Knowing all of this, and I play those little mantras in my mind, I was able to be open to journaling exercises and taking notes and doing certain homework. Now, when I have a woman come to me that starts my program, one of the first things I ask them to do is to write their declaration paragraph. And in my book, that is what has rewired my brain and connected my head and my heart. So I was resistant to journaling, and now I write what I call a declaration, kind of affirmation paragraph every single morning. So I'm creating a new narrative in my mind. Most of the things that we're saying to ourselves are not kind. And so in this paragraph, it's everything that I aspire to be. It's future self. It's adjectives like I'm powerful, confident, joyful, empowered, spirit-filled. These are my adjectives. So I have every woman come in and they create their own paragraph and I help them through that. And every single morning, that is part of my morning routine. So I had to be open to that. And then it's led to this tool that I use in creating a new narrative that helps you overcome self-sabotage, a victim mindset, and stepping into the person that you're supposed to be.
Yeah. So the victim mindset is what I wanted to talk about next, because we've all been through something, and we so often, it's a habit that I find myself in as well. And I talk to professionals, and I've read millions of books, maybe not millions, but hundreds. And I still find myself saying, this happened, that person. How do we get out of that? How do we break that habit?
Here's a really good way to look at being in a victim mindset. I was speaking at an event last week and I challenged the women in the audience. If they, most of the times, people will admit that they are in a victim mindset, but a lot of times people don't know. If you are saying things like me, this happened to me, or I can never catch a break, something always bad happens, right? So what we focus on grows. Where we place our attention is where we place our energy. And if we are looking at all the things that happen to us throughout the day, it could be someone hurt our feelings, something with business didn't go right, I got a flat tire, maybe I got a ticket, whatever, it wasn't my fault. If you're saying me, and you're focusing on all those things, your brain will go to work to find evidence to support that, and you will stay in that loop. So how I have overcome this is I love Joe Dispenza's quote. I don't know if you're familiar with Joe Dispenza,
Yes.
but I'm really big with his work and I love his retreats. And that's a big part of what's saved my life and rewiring my brain. He says, a memory without an emotional charge is wisdom. So if we can look at those things that happen to us as wisdom, turn our pain into our purpose and share them as a tool for growth, that's a way to get out of it. Also, I have my clients share their wins with me. And a lot of times people will come in and say, well, I had no win, nothing good, nothing happened. Okay, so we're still in a victim mindset. And so how we start to change this is I will say, what did this make possible and what did I learn? Okay, so this happened to me. I was very much a victim, very much. When you're raped, you are a victim.
Yeah.
But I had to take responsibility for my part in that. So I think taking personal responsibility for every area of your life gives you power. I'm not letting them off the hook, but I'm getting my power back. And I'm turning every situation into a win that I can use moving forward by saying, what did this make possible and what did I learn? Does that make sense?
Absolutely. The horrible things that happen, they do pave a way to either other people that you meet or situations you're in where you don't see a door opening at that time. But absolutely, that makes sense if we see it that way.
Yeah, it goes back to change the way you look at things. The things you look at change. Nothing in my life has outside of me has changed, but I live this wonderful life because everything inside of me has changed because I look at everything differently. Does it mean that I don't have bad days? I absolutely have valleys, but I look at them as growth opportunities.
Yeah.
I'm going to outlast the temporary pain and discomfort of growth because I know that the best version of me is on the other side when I get through it. So it's all about how you look at it in the moment and after.
Yeah. I want to talk physical health because so much of our outward appearance and how we feel has to do with our emotional health. And I know you coach women, and it sounds like you coach them kind of on both sides because your physical health can't be good if you're not good on the inside.
Yeah.
So let's talk about that for a minute and what advice you have in that realm.
Yeah, I love it. I have this holistic model. I've been a certified personal trainer for 23 years. I'm very grateful that that is just part of my life and who I am. And I love when women come to me and it's not a part of their life and I'm working with a beginner because I can almost make anyone love working out because it starts with honoring commitments that you make to yourself. And we can do that by exercise, right? So I help people create a power promise to start with, because we have to start to build integrity with ourselves. And a big part of that is with the physical stuff. So committing to doing a workout that you know you can do. So most of my workouts, not most of my clients, they do their workout at home. And I strategically write them in such a way that it is going to help them build their confidence, and it's going to be doable but challenging. And then we build off of that as I give them new workouts. And as they get more confident, then their promises to themselves and their self-worth goes up. And so then there's a compound effect and a habit stack. So you absolutely, healthy movement and building lean muscle is so important, in pre and post menopause for sure, because we lose so much muscle after the age of 30 if we don't do something to combat it. So it's very important to get in healthy movement and know what you're doing, because I see so many people at the gym who have really good intentions, but no direction, and they're wasting a lot of time. I think it's super important to have a plan or work with a professional that can get you on the right track to where you're doing things safely, efficiently, and effectively.
How are you different as a personal trainer? 20 years on the physical side, but how are you different now because of what you've been through in how you coach and how you work with people?
My empathy and my grace and my patience for my clients is next level. I just was texting with a client right before we got on, and I told her, I will start over with you as many times as you need me to. And I see people through compassionate eyes, and I believe in them, and I see them for who they can be. And no, I think it's very important. You have to take personal responsibility, and accountability works both ways. As long as you keep showing up, I will not give up on you. So your journey doesn't have to be perfect. And I don't think there's a one size fits all approach at all.
Yeah.
And with the 23 years experience, my workouts are really good and effective. They just are. I mean, I have women in their 50s and 60s who have never worked out, who are doing my workouts, and they look so fit and muscular. It's just amazing to see.
I just love what you're talking about, because mental health, I think it starts with stepping outside. It starts with picking up a weight, because it's so hard when we have the power to say no. I had a friend say this to me recently. She said, I have the power to say no. And a lot of times I just say, I don't want to go to the gym. I don't want to. And that power is so dangerous, because then people don't do anything, and then everything starts going down, either with an addiction or mental health or anything. So the power of physical activity, it plays a part in everything we're talking about.
Yeah. So if you were my client and you came to me and you said, I just don't feel like it, I just don't want to go, I would say, you don't have to feel like it. And if you're waiting to feel like it, that is your problem. We have to do it even when we don't feel like it. And that's where that power promise comes in. Start with one thing that you can do even on your worst day. And once you solidify that, you create another one. And then when you have conviction in those areas, you'll be able to battle and overcome the not feeling like it. And you'll do it even when you don't feel like it.
Yeah. Give me a couple more tips. We could talk for hours, I know, because you have so much expertise.
We'll have to do a part two. We'll do a part two.
And we should, because I think nutrition has a big part, obviously. We have the power to make decisions, and sometimes that ice cream looks really good for lunch. But there's so many different things that we could talk about where you have expertise. But give me a few more. Give me 2 or 3 more tips that someone listening could start today to start on a better path.
The power promise is one, and that could be making your bed, getting up at a certain time, going to bed at a certain time, getting off your phone at a certain time, something that you can do even on your worst day. So starting with a power promise. And I always recommend you have 3 non-negotiables, and non-negotiable means non-negotiable. You do them. And it's important to let your family and friends know about your non-negotiables, because a lot of people don't know how to enforce boundaries. So we have to let the people that we love know that this is what we're doing. So it makes it a little bit better with
And that's
boundaries.
hard to do. They're going to
Yeah.
hold you accountable and you're going to hate
So I
it.
work with people on, with boundaries too. It's a whole thing. Having a solid morning routine and nighttime routine and a few non-negotiables. And like I said, start with something that is doable. For me, a non-negotiable that I have is I shut down at 7. I go to bed at about 8 because I get up at 4. But this was very hard for me. I put my phone outside of my bedroom. I put it on do not disturb. If there's an emergency, they can get through or they can call my husband. And it's a non negotiable. Even if I have work left or people to text, the world will be fine if I put my phone on do not disturb. So I have to let my ego go and say everything will be okay if I don't respond to someone. And I let them know I turn my ringer, excuse me, off at 7. And that's a non-negotiable. And my bedtime is a non-negotiable. And my workout's a non-negotiable too. So establishing what does that mean to you and what does that look like in your life? And evaluate, do you have a morning routine? And do you have a nighttime routine? How are you setting yourself up for the day? Because if we are waking up 30 minutes before we have to be somewhere, we are putting ourselves in a reactionary state where we will be reacting to everything that comes our way. I want to be able to have enough self-control to respond and not be triggered. So I'm going to do the hard thing and get up early in the morning. And I have a solid morning routine that includes writing my paragraph, doing a meditation, doing some kind of a devotion. And I set myself up for success because I'm in a calm state. I wasn't in a rush. And this is a process. And this is where a coach or an accountability partner is really important because you will get a blueprint and some direction on how to do this. This is 3 years of me doing this consistently to get to where I am, and I'm still working on it. So it's not like I just woke up, but you got to start somewhere.
Yeah. Yeah. And not just 3 years. I would say your decades
Yes.
of
Yes.
experience
3
and
years
hurt.
of sobriety, but
And
yes.
all of that plays into the success that you have now. Well, I know you've written a book too, and your history is all in there. And I'd love to get the name of it and put a link in the show notes.
For anybody.
And you have a resource, but tell us about that too.
Yeah. So my book is called Wounded to Warrior, How to Participate in Your Own Rescue. You can get it on Amazon, Barnes and Noble, and Walmart. It's my story, but I also coupled that with my mindset tools and how I overcame each obstacle. So I wanted it to be more than just my story, the actual tools I've used to overcome.
It's wonderful. And we didn't get to hormones, so that might have to be part 2.
Yes.
But that plays a huge role in why we say no and why we struggle so much for women. And what is the resource that you've created for listeners today?
Yeah, so I'm excited you've inspired me with, your mission to help women. And so I want to give back to, this is something I only give my paying clients. I don't have a link for it. So I'm going to give you instructions on how to receive this gift, but it's called the Hormone Harmony Jumpstart. It's a 7-day meal plan that is created to reset your metabolism and hormones. It's, pretty basic and healthy. Anybody can do it. A full body workout that you can do at home or the gym, one of my workouts. And then this is really awesome too, a one-on-one strategy Zoom with me. And all you have to do is private message me on Facebook. I'm Tiffany Owen, the keyword start. You can also go to my website, Coach Tiffany Owen, and there's a place you can message me, the keyword start. So Facebook is where I'm pretty active, but my website or Facebook, just DM me the word start and I will message you back and I'll send it to you.
Thank you for that resource. And I encourage anyone who just needs a jump start, they need something different, to reach out to you. Tiffany, thank you so much.
Thank
I really
you.
appreciate your time and your vulnerability and sharing and just helping so many women.
Thank you.